hello species value nature system. I did write an unclear letter to a Mrs. Phillips because I don't know her, but she's recorded and confessed involved with people associated with the on and off campuses roles with criminal justice and training of that intercampuses of age of the same, all different forms for what America and other nations lost to originally instill religion fail. So there's there are more child predators recorded tied to the principal sex offender school. Since before that, they were reported forcing sustained because of their crime method of not letting people report at the same time while they're starting fights and pretending people are reporting things about others. In other words, this is how recorded interbranch families where I maintain criminally forward influence in collusion wrought self roles with branches originally instilled, propagated criminally foreign influence states and areas in collusion with other nations, and then private and everything, and then again through campuses, on and off campuses with interbranch police and police forms and federal criminals and police forms undercover too and stuff like that, pretending the right to lie is what is not the right to further lie progressions. Pretend they're leaking and stuff like that for political reasons and stuff like that. But politics are recorded, the individuals, the groups, and the progressions as their value nature relationship to itself. As progressions value per system of reality that modern nations are attacked deleterious from, pretending they are science. We recorded how they were motivated. There were three Bernstein brothers who had a father who taught sixth grade, used to walk to school each day, past houses involved with. I never had a conversations with, and the ones I know only from recorded their crime rolls with this. A close family came into a house, 80 Currigill Drive, when I was in fourth grade. That's recorded tied to the confessions and people in relationship to a girlfriend of a previous police chief, and the new one's immediate and extended family involved with the principal sex offenders campus just sentenced, and with judges who recorded and confessed involved in interbranch families involved, recorded and confessed involved with behavioral crimes, database illusion stacking with the kids, and motivations and roles with that per natures of investigator and natures of organized crime, and sick natures in collusion with it, with medical corruption with the kids. WFSB attached me to fake conversations with them and with others, fake sequences, like railroad tactics still used to hide their recorded, confessed, and threatened, and acted on criminally sequence shifts, identity thefts. Police forms and interbranch actors recorded switching names, forging names, switching sequences together, covering up their police forms and judges out of court roles with identity thefts. Since I was a kid, attached me to fake relationships to people I don't know at all that pretend other, and exploiting all exceptions they set up criminally, tied to dozens and dozens tied to the houses in my area. Further involved with the principal sex offender recorded tied to their rape threats against students and the family members of them with that school since before that. I tried to report this because the police were already recorded with crimes, switching names, forging names. There are three different guys who use the name Legit to me and others recorded for this. Also recorded and confessed involved with their roles with kids and women with the sex offender cliques as this interbranch. Detectives also tied to Mashantucket, Pequot Tribal Nation, and to Mohegan Sun, with the Mancini family recorded and confessed involved with the families recorded and confessed tied to the body dumping spots, intercity, on and off campuses, CCSU, many. In other words, so I wrote an unclear letter too, because they're recorded directing people to pretend they know me and stuff like that. And when I'm trying to report and have the fake news corrected, fake news, attaching me, stealing people's voices with courts, recorded, preventing people response and making and directing confessions through state's attorneys, then directed hit. Then they need to hide that from, and then criminally acted on, pretended like it was real. When they attached me to fake relationships to investigators that pretended they were a part of my arrest when I never met them in my life, like a Detective Samuda. He came into court. This before they were recorded with the other forcing to sustain that those evidence crime acts before them with the principal sex offender. They were forcing sustained with the in court. Also in that context, with rape threats. See, we have CCSU also with the acting department, recorded and confessed involved with crimes with doctors, foreign and domestic, and with houses on Church Street, recorded and confessed involved with this through time criminally. So they're using the right to lie per their right to per not their right. In other words, for criminally foreign roles with criminally foreign influence, demonstrations at each school I went to of recorded and confessed courts in collusion with criminally foreign influence, recorded and confessed families, recorded and confessed connected, and two, where they lied, where they put classroom placements, like with houses next to the like a Tom DeChaccio and his sister, recorded victim predator. See, but then when you bring up people's names, they're going to be they pretend not they're directed to be after, because understand that the courts how they have recorded, confessed, judges switching names, forging names, with the police that do it into branch, sequence shifting, then with and as behavior crimes and motivations needing to hide that and such, with the kids pretending for other causes because they're demonstrating and confessed with not trying to hide. In other words, their roles with military police and court police in collusion, intercity, with various ages of campuses, natures of them, including medical, like hospital and like fire department campuses, EMS. See, we have jobs to time treatments as fact treatment nature in the trap that they knew that they could measure and stay off all forms of sophistication, blaming others themselves and exploiting and indifferent to and measured this way the real causes of 99.9% of the crimes. See, we have undercovers pretending passions against people because they have identity theft crime roles. They need to pretend that they're caring about their family members and stuff like that. Then when there's needs to come and you know, now I'm needing to seek through strangers because interbranch actors recorded. They wouldn't follow the rules. They're recorded, threatening, communicating beyond nonverbal communications and demonstrations with criminal acts and criminal methods and criminal acts and cases in collusion with that. And in other words, then you need to lie and pretend such they did criminally in cases, and with the databases of courts through time, is not realized and is real. See, they're stacking database solutions. They're having roles and uses of it for other natures of crime with the courts and the prison clicks unrealized, putting them away afterwards, after they were already involved with Sandy Hook doctors, recorded and confessed, involved in threatening with online Facebook rape threats, interbranch recorded rape threats, and sequence shifts with the same actors and drug clicks and evidence fabrication nature reports recorded connected, and to and as drug clicks with federal criminals from the Trade Center context. Fake conversations they put me in with them about that, forging other doctors' names. In other words, they use the. I caught my new and past neighbors in collusion with confessions and recorded crime rolls of juxtaposed natures, some with as child abuses rolls with houses in my area. And see, this was going to be taken care of, but my father beat him in one NLRB case, federal criminals associated with their co-defendant in another case that was a civil RICO case, which is racketeering influence organization, organized crime. From also with this clique, also recorded and confessed involved with crimes with of ACA to RICO. And as complete strangers who then made those confessions, confirmed them online, but were also recorded and confessed with identity thefts and pretended they knew me in other contexts. While that was, in other words, that was also recorded and confessed tied to people with crimes with the port police and with the media investigators, retired and standing, and men and women involved with crimes with the kids. Because then they're, and see, everyone's, the interbranch actors are juxtaposing a hid between businesses' interest to defend themselves fact treatment wise and juxtaposed, interbranch police forms with the area's crimes. So they're making them get away. They're making the businesses be predators, preventing mandated law from being followed. There's a Panera Bread in Wethersfield with a girl with red hair, recorded and confessed, involved with other undercover investigators and people associated with Hartford Hospital, with drugs with the kids through time, with database solutions stacking identity theft crimes, stealing people with fake conversations with them, fake relationships to them, fake sequential relationships to them, exploiting all and setting through time. They're keeping. So that with the English department, there was also demonstrated they have crime rolls with the Burstein family. I don't know if the guy's still alive. His 3 sons were also reported and confessed with various natures of agencies and their family members criminally involved with the kids in my area through time, on and off campuses, with illusions and stuff like that. An ILO family is involved with this. Others I don't know the names of, with the offensive, tied, because then after when you have they make the way they're having people communicate, you have to take time to come back to respond to it correctly. But then they're switching names interbranch and then directing that on campuses too, because they already directed them to federal crime rolls against mandate and to identity theft crimes with hospitals, like with not just interbranch. This is facilitated between the nations here, not just on the records where they're lying. They're maintained as knave rolls, keeping their nations here, they're only capable of letting a state's area's opinions force leaders to be naive conviction natures like them, sequence shifting natures, incapable of even defending our founders' course when they attack Mao too, verbally. That's criminal foreign influences maintain sciences there and here, originally and still. Religion fell. Be tribe. So it's a trick to think indigenous is the word to go for. Native is nature. See, they have a fact-cheating nature, organized crime that nobody is capable of allowing interbranch reported, let reported interbranch roles with sick things and has sick natures, like the witch trials. Same thing today they're doing. Attaching people to fake relationships to others through time as kids. They're forcing courts in court, out of court crime acts and roles with child sex offenders, with rape threats, with sequence shifts with the same groups in Connecticut, and in cases and using their databases tied to a proven sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit in the Trade Center context. Now, these are federal criminals also that was after proven. See, it made that before the panel of judges and the Ninth Circuit made it appear lit as it had been timestamped late. My father was the plaintiff, and that was part of a case of a pro se civil RICO suit. But so the federal criminals in that had recorded and confessed crime roles with interbranch actors and with federal criminals of other natures too, juxtaposed with, as one had a daughter in my grade, and the other ones had crime roles with the kids in my grades too, and people placed in my classroom tied to recorded connection crime roles with them with interbranch database solution stacking, criminal justice connections to the sex offenders and to uses of CCSU, English department through time. There was a Pruzzi family that was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, used for crimes that were also semi-nature against a Miss Hicks. I don't know if she's related to Hope Hicks. A Pruzzi, also with a DeMauro family and a Kerr family, and like sex circles with them with the DeMauro family and other families like a Finelli family and a Schedule family also reported and confessed involved with crimes with judges' families and people on Two Rod Highway and where it runs into Hang Dog Lane and Burlington Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. Now, Fred Guzet and Joey Quest, they also sought me out to confess and demonstrate and record that they had crime roles with judges' families, and medical corruption, but probate or undercovers. Now, see, this is also clicks recorded and confessed involved with crimes with the acting departments and with the medical corruption families, identity theft families, like a Gilmore, Dr. Gilmore, pretended he had a conversation with me. I had a conversation with him in my life. I asked to report to Dr. Sioka before she was a Dr. Sioka. She was before she was with the Institute of Living. I never saw her there, but before she was there, she was recorded and confessed involved with those people with crimes with the drugs that are also in the context where they know that's with undercover with them with drugs and with investigations and evidence perception bodies, but they're using that for what it's not undercover because they're revealing that, they're having that revealed, confessed, and demonstrated and recorded, and then they're pretending other within as behavior crimes, also within as their recorded roles with proven sex offenders tied to the interbranch acts, into the criminal justice cliques, and uses of them. Each campus I went to connected. As a live progression, interbranch families were recorded and confessed with criminality that was also foreign and known and unknown, juxtaposed with areas, overt criminal enterprises, unrealized ones, and you know, this is with Trade Center where they share policing agreements undercover and training of this with criminal justice, CCSU, on and off campuses like Rocky Hill. There's a food bag too, recorded and confessed with two Mendez brothers, recorded and confessed, involved with doctors involved with drug crimes, with like evidence crime rolls in cases with the gangs like Los Feliz and stuff like that, with the undercovers with them, associated with like Orion and Terry Cleesa. And now they use the name Lewis and stuff online. Recorded and confessed involved with real estate crimes. Recorded and confessed involved with the Dillon family. Recorded and confessed involved with child crimes with houses in my areas, and his old detective partner or whatever like that. Recorded and confessed involved with family down the street. Came to one of my speech classes. Recorded and confessed two of my speech classes in high school. Recorded and confessed involved. Well, that's what made me stay back. One speech class. Recorded and confessed involved with a Mike Pandolf. Recorded and confessed involved with CCSU on and off campus interbranch drug database solution stacking clicks, sequence shifting clicks, identity theft clicks. And we'll see where I know his name just because of this, because he was directed to seek me out with confessions, demonstrations. That was also tied to a Chris Walters, recorded and confessed involved with like prostitution stuff with them and stuff like that with CCSU. Only context I know him in was him seeking me out to make confessions too about this, his crime rolls with people associated with the Detective Dillon, and with recorded juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises, undercovers inclusion, like Italian gangs and families and doctors, recorded and confessed involved with the Coloro family, the Morrow family, and Scalora family. Like I never, and a Scalora and a Phil Coloro are the ones tied to the 80 Carriageville drives. You know, Phil Coloro, Bob Chase said, was on a police report that see, he was supposed to read this to me. He didn't read it to me. The reason they told him to do that was also demonstrated to the state police using the word, saying, discrediting a perfect world, as per their recorded crime rolls, also with various natures of courts at once and through time, and with their family members facilitated as victims, but as victim predators, allegedly still. And so they don't think we could know this because, in other words, they're pretending their confessions are tied to this, and the demonstrations are tied to it. They're ducking behind how we have Russia, like a Peruta family, with the fire departments involved with the rest of the sex offenders, with the courts, and with the undercovers, and with and as their roles with a behavior crime method per sequence shifts and per name factory. In other words, also recorded and confessed were our criminal uses of the fact treatment natures of a former Olympian clay bed, and of people from the gym of Bellevue Square before they closed it. Back in the day, you know, all the shootings there, and there know about all the shootings in Hartford all the time. They were just mentioning that on the news. I believe it was WFSB or Fox ET. They're also recorded using their Facebook page to prevent how they were recording, attaching me to fake conversations with them, fake relationships to others, were criminally exploiting all exceptions. They pretended I had relationships to doctors when I was a kid that never were, and as an adult. And that's recorded because these doctors are recorded, tied to them, and their story criminal also recorded as drug clerks and confessed as that by people tied to them in other ways to correlation. All kinds of natures of drug crimes, formal gangland, using a quote, also recorded and confessed with their roles with crimes with investigators, and uses the law from the transition from ACA to RICO in association with a Faenza family, recorded and confessed involved also with people associated with a Civiello family, attaching me to fake conversations with them, fake sequences, and their roles with body dumping spots, and with the Dillon family, recorded and confessed, tied to them with their crime roles with houses in my area, with the family that came in fourth grade, made confessions and demonstrations of their roles with the people who sought me out before that, with the two O'Brien brothers, demonstrate their family's roles with their confessions and demonstrations of roles with interbranch evidence perception predators with children, and with behavior crimes where they pretend they have morality and they pretend that other people are bad as means to pretend that they're not. In other words, because they know they're Walker. There was also recorded and confessed tied to girls that I never had conversations with after they're in relationship to their fake behavior crime roles. In other words, they make things where everyone into branch and tied to them are fake. Then that became, so then fifth grade, Joe DeMauro, Mr. Approved, doesn't even teach the class. So I didn't have a Ray Clo in any of my classes growing up, or the O'Briens. Then that was also reported and confessed, tied to tricks where they do things we don't know the other kids in the other classes, but people are baking. Some know others because they're the medical families and the ones tied to the database relationships, like with the evidence perception bodies, on off campuses and inter-science too, all per a fact treatment nature racket role that knew that the database has it's like just like every body has a spine, every body of life, exceptions are for this too, but most, and right down the middle, two eyes, in demonstration of a trinity wherein has a value nature, which is distinct from values nature, but is also non-distinct from values nature. The same way the identity of space is simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly onto all parts of an S-based value. See, before modern religions, the Campus Marcia said the value of sciences that humanity revealed together before they were criminal. It was criminal. There are relationships were criminally re-engineered. This was also criminally re-engineered in a way with a theater that was lying not just to individuals and branches, and, and as there were holes forced only realized since semi-ancient times. See, all modern nations were born into a trap. Mao Zedong was born into the trap that our founders were in with no free speech. Their free speech was stolen, recorded, stolen still. Religion fell. You can't defend convictions with the rest with their that they make with history and regarding the value nature relationship that Marbury versus Madison has to us. I'm not even a lawyer. They're sequence shifting. You're not supposed to use hearsay evidence. They're making up evidence, sequence shifting. After years of it not let reported too, methodically. See, then when they do the crime acts with the campuses, before you can report that, they bring up other strangers tied to the people with the overt identity theft crime rolls with the courts, recorded and confessed with crimes, acts in the past that are relevant now to their roles, recorded, forcing, sustained, worse, tied to the principal sex offenders campus just sentenced, and tied to various natures of court at once, and now various natures of ages of courts with it, and with their roles with Walter's family tied to such with Washington. So these are agreements where Puerto Rico and this is also how they have a lot of Southern Italian families with the one with the police chiefs extended Mazzucato family reported and confessed involved with crimes with John Maiano with pretending they knew me besides the very few spots I knew them in. You know, just you go into Mazzucato, buy stuff. You know, I only had good memories that way, but I never had personal conversations with anybody. You see? But now, John Maiano recorded, because he also had recorded, confessed, intimate crime rolls with WFSB, also with Christine Bedard and Christine Tardet, with fake news and medical corruption with kids of each age through time, database illusion stacking. And now this is also recorded and confessed to his crime rolls with clicks with the 2 speech classes I had, recorded and confessed involved with a whole bunch of other people tied to my neighbors over here, who are related to the Phil Club and to the Subby Scalora. For them, that are recorded and confessed with the identity crimes, also recorded and confessed with agencies and their family members, and doctors forging names, pretending with identity thefts, pretending keeping people who are going to be coming into contact with investigations that were tied to how our branches were originally propagated, roles with overtly criminal enterprises caused by what was blamed on other and others, not themselves. Tactically, we're in as now the legalized ones came about. The motivations and natures for witch trial courts, for not just Jim Crow laws, but even entertained treatments of it since. They've lied right to Mike Pence. I tell no lies. And I'm saying that myself. But CT is cherry tree. So they say George Washington said, especially if he didn't say it, and they say he said it. It's even more. That's why George Washington had to leave slavery and trench in the North. Right through our schools, they have criminal foreign influence people pretending insidiously that they believe that our founders were behind slavery. And as victim predators, with physical delusion, stuff like that, can use correlation to see that our founders were demonstrably, most logically, and demonstrably fact-keeping nature slaves who had to pretend extensive roles still with extensive laws against free speech that forced other speech and behavior in relationships to that as a breaching method that was using human fact-keeping nature. Everyone slaves, everyone measured, propagated, only realized, self-cultivated, blaming other and others and blaming selves. No. When you say what's wrong with areas forsaken so many ways, it's fact-keeping nature. It's not about voting. It's about fact-keeping nature as value nature relationship to itself. Per reality's value progression system, the identity of the great progression that is simultaneously, scientifically, discernibly bound onto all overall progression, group progressions, and all finite progressions before and as the value of all, as the order of all finite. That means before. And this is also after. So this is the 5 pillars of Islam. These are the 5 pillars of yin yang. Boxing has said. But not. The earth has turned and turned, but not have learned. The pendulum of outer space now nears. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum. The pendulum of outer space. It was our nature as an identity, its value as a progression, nature. And that is further discernibly a positive or negative relationship to itself as a system that fact-keeping nature, obligations-wise, these were our tactically ulterior from, and still justified and defended on like that, not by accident. So it was recorded and confessed what we need to be able to report. See, but now, interbranch recorded and confessed also private collusion with them when I was in grammar school. Just a regular kid. They're pretending you don't even know what they have in the databases. They're attaching not just me, they're investing people's lives to positions, jobs as conviction nature, tactically forced needing to justify and rely on the perfect world, not defended, not by accident. It's called the Constitution abridged and maintained by agencies and by branches only that realize through states and areas collusion with this, each age of campus and each nature of campus intercity tie, where and how we are originally instilled. When there were courts with witch trials, when there were courts with Jim Crow laws, they're lying to themselves and to others, even when they're knowing that it was because it's related to how we have forced shared policing, and that's not allowed told on, because we have forced shared market positions that are sick there and here, not by accident, before modern nations. So it fit our identity of progression to an abridged fact-keeping nature track that has the fact-keeping nature slavery of our founders. See, the Burroughs book is about the organized crime database relationship and uses of it that was upon our founders. Now, understanding this requires demonstrating criminal uses of agencies then that are still being used now. Anticipated, like the Bursteins tied to the English department, many recorded. In other departments, many recorded criminal influencers, roles with criminally foreign influence, fact-cheaping natures since they were kids, through interbranch recorded collusion, where they have overt criminal enterprises and unrealized ones and private ones and legalized ones that were criminally legalized juxtaposed. This is maintaining them needing to hide the same finite individual, each individual distinctly and non-distinctly, grouped each group with each nature of court and interact distinctly, non-distinctly. Now this is important because they're interbranch recorded forging and switching names, consciously with and as a crime method, preventing people the ability to have anyone to respond to not involved with identity theft crime rules. Like this Phillips. I only know her because she recorded it. See, they made people make confessions and demonstrations of their roles with criminality with interbranch police and actors with areas and on and off campuses ahead of time. Because then they know they're going to need, or if they need things covered up, is what they do is maintain all kinds of natures of crime and crime rules and methods consciously only understood through their needs to hide individual groups and together lies and delusions that they don't think we could discern from here. And when they hear and understand that we could, they hide and plot and offensively hurt correlation nature. They're making each age of fact-cheaping nature incapable of even allowing protracted correlation to demonstrate what is hurting Hartford, what is behind the shootings, what is behind tactical degradation of the quality of fact-cheaping nature, quality of correlation nature, intercampuses tied with. This is also tied to CCSU with their crime roles with same actors, intercity. A number of doctors are recorded and confessed involved. They use, if you catch a way to demonstrate them recorded with criminal uses of kids through time, which is what it takes to be able to, because they have they adapt. It's a crime that they're like in a fight. They're like jabbing and stepping back and see how the guy's going to come in so they can hit him. Each individual together, group together, progressively, sequentially. There are further judges and doctors and overt federal criminals and peoples associated with sex offenders with the houses in my area recorded and confessed tied to the untimely deaths and murders and body dumping spots, tied roles with criminality and stuff like that, connected that brought that up to me. And that was with an untimely death and all kinds of natures of bad thing recorded and confessed and recorded, demonstrated at Trinity College. And that also intercampus. And this was also too, but I've been waiting for a long time to finish my project on change. Since before the Obama administration lied to, recorded how they were motivated, needing to lie to him through the Obama administration. So you know that and how I forgot his name. I never had a class with him. But a man who was given the poet laureate by President Obama, a guy from Cuba, a nice man. I mean, just for a couple of seconds, but I saw him in the department and stuff before I graduated. But see, this is recorded and confessed also and demonstrated with a Heitner, a Jack Heitner, and with a Susan Gilmore. I don't know, she probably has a new name now, and with other people with dozens of connections to crimes with the Wethersfield police chief's family and detectives tied to him and their family members, and roles with families in my town near tied to a whole bunch of confessions, recorded crime rolls and uses of houses on Two Rod Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane in the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. A Joey Quest, I only know through this, and Fred Grisey also recorded, confessed crimes with the courts and the police families and the gangs and undercovers and stuff like that, with people associated with a Soto family. I never had a conversation with them in my life, and other people I don't know the names of, with identity theft roles, where they attach. In other words, there's a Cololo family and a DeMoro family that are tied, and to a Klotz family that also had nothing to do with in my life. In other words, except for exceptions when I was in like 6th grade. And their roles demonstrating also role kinds with CCSU and with fake news cliques and with drug and sex offender cliques in my area associated with them with that, and with criminal justice cliques, like with prison, also with people tied to the state prison branch offices. In other words, they had these cliques tied together. Like a Mancini family is also recorded and confessed involved. I only know him from a context. Him recorded and confessed involved with by people tied to him, with crimes with evidence reception bodies. And then one time we had a conversation about Mancini peppers in the boxer met with it Boom Boom Mancini a couple of times, But when these people were tied to connected, all kinds of medical corruption with the investigators and with the various natures of courts, in collusion with each other because they're with crime methods roles for a breaching method that is using human fact treatment nature with an as opinion nature is recorded, tactically lied to, tactically criminally foreign influenced. It was no joke. Even the worst in criminal incompetence to pretend that you can't understand the recorded worst in criminal incompetence of Director Comey. And as sequence shift cover up crime roles, as election crime roles, with people tied to all kinds of natures of federal criminals and for their family of the sex offenders, tied to further sex offenders, tied to crimes with doctors and federal criminals who were co-defendants of a former director of the FBI in a 2006 case that came after it was proven that inside the Ninth Circuit, right before and in the Trade Center context, there was post-dated from inside the court, there were post-dated papers that could appear late in the 9/11 Ninth Circuit. And we came home right before the attack. That's also tied to predicate acts and to crimes in Connecticut cases, sequence shifts also not proven but recorded. And also then recorded pretending not to realize by stacking more crimes and crime rolls and uses of a proven recently sentenced sex offender and his doctors in those courts recorded in collusion with other natures of child crime and with further sex offenders associated with that campus and other campuses. Before that, forcing him, it's sustained too with him with an as worse than him, still side tied with the campuses and with other sex offenders since before that, and his family members reported and confessed crime rolls with a Pierce family and with a Mayano family and with a doctors at Hartford Hospital. There was one black doctor. I tried to talk because there was none. They were all recorded and confessed tied to crimes with a Lethe family. So I wasn't gonna have conversation with them because they're tied to the sex offenders I was trying to before it was sex offenders. But they're tied to other child natures of child abuse roles with a Dillon family and my past and current neighbors. Also, natures of sex crime roles with the courts, with identity thefts and the way they have other juxtaposed sexual circles and stuff like that with the police forms. Also, I was a hospital I never was in. In other words, they forced me into a hospital three times with evidence crimes. Two times pretending I had with behavior, pretending I had after they, I asked my mother to call the police three times first. I'm the first one, not because I was mad at her, because her clients, in collusion with police forms, also associated with crimes against people who work for her. But this is with a method where no one's going to want to go into nonsense, which is what they're forcing because they're interbranch attaching me and others to fake conversations and fake relationships with others through time. So then when I was in middle school, there's a Kerr family also recorded and confessed involved with a Walters family, with on and off campuses of different types. Every once in a while, this guy would record and confess himself involved with the Dillon family, recorded and confessed involved with all these confessions of strangers intercity through time, which is used because before you can take care of the database illusion stacking at your own campuses, they demonstrate how it is tied to their crime rolls with evidence reception bodies and juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises, unrealized ones, needed to hide the same lies, delusions, the same lie progressions against each person together, grouped together progressively and sequentially. This is also tied to recorded and confessed systemic drug clicks, evidence fabrication natures connected intercourt through time, internatures of courts and their family members. Judges with real sick crime methods and acts and roles and natures recorded and reported and confessed and associated with like a Delafero family. I only know them from confessions and from them recorded pretending to know me from other afterwards. In other words, they sought me out for confessions and demonstrations of their recorded crime rolls with like KKK themed, mixed, interbranch. See, their father said that there's a probate judge. I don't know if it's a Judge Killian, but there was one before that, before a Judge Killian. Other judges recorded and confessed with a probate court, recorded and confessed involved with crimes with superior courts and with other natures of courts. I never been in, like in Middletown, with interbranch police forms and military police forms and families and stuff like that, who are raised to roles with what is progressively maintaining. They're using the interbranch drug cliques with doctors tied to the courts of various natures, and with overt drug crimes and stuff like that, with crime rolls and cases, and then with illusions, progressions and stuff like that tied to the investigators and to the top police forms in collusion with foreign and domestic. They're here with the same rackets there and here, like with psychology. Recorded and confessed involved with physical delusions, identity theft, natures of identity theft crimes, crime acts, roles, and methods, facilitated and connected behavior crimes, sequence shifting crime roles associated with two Luanda brothers. Kids recorded and confessed, exploited by courts and by criminal justice cliques associated with Klebe, with his child abuse that made him a man incapable, demonstrably. I never had a conversation with him, so I don't want to judge him. But I don't want to have I need to have the interbranch actors tied to them. In other words, I don't know the name. There's a Dave, recorded and confessed, involved by other people tied to what. See, they make recorded confessions from strangers, and then they have the other strangers as also juxtaposed with all exceptions, like the Luanda brothers. So I hate to be speaking on this on the internet because they're very basically strangers to me. The nose is from probably mostly from Santos, Luanda, in a boxing fight. I know them. I was just learning though. So I had a whole bunch of fights, and then before there's a Sammy Vega also reported and confessed involved with crimes with people tied to what's his name, Joseph Lieberman, and other interbranch families with crime action roles with the databases, and then with evidence perception bodies on and off campus, and then with behavior, and then with as their motivations for roles and reported identity theft crime roles, all kind of slanders of people of each age of fact treatment nature. See, they don't know how they're keeping the campuses recorded, that each campus I went to reported and confessed, maintained as victim predators for interbranch. It's pausing now. For interbranch directed bad things, vaccine. So Weathersfield parents, you're being lied to, and it's worse than that. And the attorney general is being lied to by state's attorneys, and they're pretending, what they need to pretend to themselves and others when you're with crime roles facilitated by criminal foreign influence originally. Still, we have to deal with this. The president is very wise to be able to even try to admit the fake news, which is scary because they'll just attach you to fake conversations because they're with private police also very sick, even hurting, and with recorded crime roles with sex offenders for sustained, with in-court, out-court police crime roles with a evidence perception body crime roles with a Mendez family recorded and confessed with crimes with the middle school. I only saw them for 1 second in middle school, and it was nothing. It was about boxing, but that was recorded and confessed by all kinds of confessions tied to them, by a DeMoro family, by a Kerr family, recorded and confessed with interbranch crime roles, with identity thefts, with medical drug cliques, with doctors, foreign and domestic, police forms, foreign and domestic, overt criminal enterprises, foreign and domestic, juxtaposed with the legal ones, and within as recorded and confessed crime acts roles in cases already through time used to maintain them criminally foreign. His mother and cousins and their family members also reported and confessed involved with CCSU intercampuses. Also, I never had a conversation in my life with Charlie Bowes, a girl who says she's his sister from Old Town Cafe that Chris Walters, though also a person I only know recorded and confessed, demonstrated and reported and confessed that he was abused by people growing up because his father died, and it was associated with the police, retired and standing, associated with sex offenders in my area, associated with him criminally. He had a wedding that he invited to me to, recorded and confessed, involved with people associated with on-off CCSU federal crimes and crime roles with sex offender lists and roles with people associated with DCF and Sammy Vega that reported and confessed, and his mother and stuff like that, They use him as a victim predators with evidence perception bodies with some kind of like a Scalora recorded also and confessed, and Demora recorded intercity. Justin Glavinsky is also recorded and confessed his wife involved with crimes with them, with database solution stacking on off campuses, and people tied to the body dumping spot of the serial killer. See, but even if that was made up, that person was reported and confessed. Those courts reported and confessed involved with crimes with him, and people tied to him, even though I didn't know him when I was in grammar school. I never had a class with him. Every once in a while, he would show up and confess and record things, his roles with the people that used to hang out with my neighbors. Like, in other words, they used to go hiking sometimes. They used to want to go hiking. They would bring like a marijuana. So they're selling the drugs through the cliques, even that are being used for database solution stacking, identity theft, crime roles, lie progression, cover up crime roles, where we had originally still maintained blamed other and others and self criminal foreign influences. Criminal foreign influence. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police form. I'm not a criminal. Vaccines. So they're also recorded and confessed, involved with a variety of methods of pretending not to realize, and of recorded and confessed motivations it needs to pretend not to realize crime roles and uses of courts databases and of the databases of campuses and of medical departments, like the Hartford's roles with heart people, foreign and domestic, recorded and confessed, and demonstrated, facilitated the on-off campuses crimes also with a Grise family and with a what's his name? Joey Quest family, also recorded and confessed, involved with foreign and domestic police and doctors and courts criminally involved with golf courses and with the golf course across the street from the Goodwin Park and across the street from that. They said they have crime roles with child abuses and stuff of the family that lives near the and of the family. The business is also recorded and confessed, involved with state police, different kinds of police involved with them criminally. With the body dumping spots, with the cemetery, but also the burning. They have someone lives there, right in the middle of the street. There's a David. I forgot his name. I think it's David Alexander, and that's also reported and confessed with like foreign and domestic police associated with like associated with the gravestone place there, right between there. See, now this is where J.P. Morgan was buried. J.P. Morgan had to lend money to the federal government to fight the world wars. Where and how? There and here. The same way Mao was forced, for what was with slavery, forced roles with that crazy database things there and here. He was before the Civil War. They had such crazy laws against every single person forced internation monitor database relationships, the same nature and method of active members of organized crime that were against England, forcing them to be the face of it here, for the method that forced each modern nation to rules. Within as our nature, our values, as nature, value nature relationship to itself, as equality, diffusion, positive, further positive or negative as temporary, possession of lasting forever nature. We are active quality, we are simultaneously inherently actively and progressive quality of diffusion, which is before and as the finite everywhere it is. Before, beyond, and as the order to all finite, and as the bond to that order. Everywhere it is. The Trinity is in diffusion through itself, the identity of space. This is why and how bodies of life have cells, with the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall shared, body of value discernment shared. One course is here, but none of care. Because everyone plays market was one thing. But then pretending a sub-science like math and relationships to negotiations that left math worse than tactically abridged, pretending that science as positive, and they can't believe that reality is other. In other words, we have people that we have still branches in areas maintained everyone victim predators, for which is a crime method against each agent factor. This is not just one campus that they're recorded with crime rolls with. It acts already, needs to cover it up. This is also tied to the Close family's recorded and confessed involvements with the policing of and the doctors associated with drugs, with stores, with CVS. It's no joke. I've been asking someone, they're starting fights because they don't read the police report. They made fake things because I caught them. First, there's sequence shifting. Because I caught people recorded and confessed involved with crimes with this Phil Colo that they said was on the police report, which is recorded roles. They were forcing the sustained sex crime acts and roles with the principal sex offenders campus. With others were still recorded and confessed involved with his campus criminally, with the CCSU tied campus with Franklin Avenue. There's a officer Nanos also recorded and confessed involved with his name and evidence crime with other officers interceded with on-off CCSU campus crimes. Other police also reported and confessed crime rules with other foreign and domestic police with East Hartford with him. There's also a Steve Manos recorded and confessed involved as a witness in my father's case, but then he is recorded and confessed involved with criminal uses by investigators tied to them. See, he had a wife, the one that was also used as a witness, but she had won her case. Say, I don't know these people, I know of them. So fact treatment racket wise, they'll pretend other. I mean, brief moment. There's also, he was making fun of a son of one of the woman who gave my father, she was one of the witnesses. We have them recorded anyway with proven sequence shift. They were already recorded proven with sequence shift. With the same group now recorded forging names of police and doctors and spreading lies and rumors with proven federal criminals and sex offender cliques interbranch further now with more recorded and confessed still with the schools and stuff like that. Still with they have crime rolls with the elections with and as criminal uses of standing positions and nature of relationships of the FBI to the area, recorded and confessed, demonstrated criminally involved, used to maintain. See, because the Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, was the former standing chairperson of RICO law. Now they're associated with a Fianza family on 2-Route Highway with houses next to and around them that they said and that are recorded and confessed involved with identity theft crimes, attaching me to fake conversations about with them and relationships to them, fake relationships to them with interbranch actors, also with and as recorded crime rolls with houses facilitated to them, for them, as houses in my area, like a Kathy Tansey associated with a Eric Klotz and CCSU criminally, with many others, with the DeMoro family, the Hansen family, and the Kerr family, and then recorded with crime rolls with a Pandolf family, and with a McCord family, and with lawyers and stuff like that, where they had crime acts and rolls with criminal uses of depositions to make fake sides of issues and fake relationships appear real, per the court's criminal rolls, per Mike Pandolf's criminal rolls, per the girl who was suing him or whatever, if that was real or whatever, and per the McCords, who I still, that was the first time I saw them. Whereas I don't know them. I never had conversations. Every exception was criminally exploited. I mentioned it before. They're recording confessed tied to the criminal uses of web school and of police forms with associated with CCSU and other in campuses with medical corruption, with drug collecting to branch, and with doctors and psychology and stuff like that, and with kids. But they're involved with criminality. They're using it to cover up their life aggressions. They're hurting innocents. They're hurting people's faith. They're with crime rolls and acts and natures recorded with other natures departments of medicine. Crime rolls and methods with police forms with the stores for shared here and there sick. So they're needing to hide behind families who don't want this brought up pride. Like, and I don't want to bring it up, but no, they're doing it because this is how it's tied to the trade center and time, the positions of jobs in relationship to where lawyers were originally to correlation and still recorded in collusion with branches sequence shifting with areas criminally foreign influenced per their roles. This is keeping us in a box with opinion natures with physical delusions propagated as victim predators of intersciences maintain physical delusions too, criminal foreign influence sciences. I'm not even a lawyer, I'm not a police form. Tell American history, you have to tell about the database solution stacking crime that came with and as modern nations. You have to tell about the fake patriotism, nature, motivations, and roles that are only capable of pretending that by pretending to be against Mao Zedong when he was in the exact same database, forced information, no free speech, stolen free speech. You can't tell about our founders if you can't tell about what was left entrenched and bridged for us to get. They want to pretend sacrifice, and who doesn't think and just is naive is value, because that's value to branches criminally foreign influence, states and areas and roles with inclusion with other suits and tied nations and counters to it that don't understand tubes in the same ancient times because the science is criminally re-engineered. Allah's name was revealed by sciences that reveal value G as God. And with this, with and as about ratiocination, which has to know the difference between what is true always, as positive identity, also positive onto itself, which is how we know. That's truly the identity of existence, and which they revealed as Allah, per value J, God, which stands for God, is what we have to contemplate. This is where prayer comes in, because it's not with theory, if we're right or wrong. If you use correlation itself, has simultaneously inherent active and progressive means because of the bond before, then while being as the order to all finite, and being as grouped like sexes, as overall, not just grouped sexes, but grouped progressions too. Identity of value progressions, value nature progressions. Value nature distinctly from values nature, for what I'm getting to the five for, because values nature is something that is in five positions at once. Before, then as temporary space nature's trinity of value, and beyond it, as what's holding it simultaneously compressed and expanding, as simultaneously being greater than and overall and greater than before, so as the order of all finite. In other words, what causes oxygen to be part of value nature is not photosynthesis. It's the relationship that the negative value nature carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, whatever they eat, goes into leave one way, and the oxygen is coming out the other way. And with that, everything is in demonstration of diffusion, a quality of diffusion in his life. See, but humanity has criminal foreign influences. Quality of diffusion as criminal insidiousness nature more and more since some age time, because the original value nature relationship of the original campus Marcius was this criminally re-engineered. So nature will continue. It's better than any prophet. Nature will continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts like predicate acts, which are inherently actively and progressively negative value natures. Positive value nature's negative relationship to itself. At the same time, while the sciences share an identity, is why the predicate is simultaneously positive's identity's inherent, active, and progressive, the positive relationship to itself. A main verb is a predicate, which is value nature, relationship to a subject, or as the subject. Only a verb could stand as a one-word sentence properly, unless in response to one. I mean, so, but if it's not used as a main verb, it becomes a participle nature or an infinitive nature of verb. In other words, there's a nature which is an identity of space, which is bonded onto and as the value of itself to all things vaccines. We have we have worse than physical delusions. We have criminal foreign influences over the individuals grouped together progressively and sequentially. Needed to pretend things like that they believe things about theory and needed to make other people believe it. Needed to hurt correlation nature, to defend justifications of fact treatment nature, of constitution nature originally and still. Effectively maintained criminally foreign influence and self-exploiting it for other motivations, nature's acts, needs, interests, and in other words, And this is being hid behind by the breaching method that's maintaining this as the outcome. So we have federal, Eric Jensen's also reported and confessed involved with New Britain Superior Court, people associated with crimes in the past that motivated their roles with recorded force sustained child sexual crime roles and acts in natures, recorded with the principal sex of the offender's campus, but worse than him, and per the relationship also recorded by other police and confessed by other police involved with the principal's daughter with the school and with her. There's a Bellucci also recorded and confessed involved with CCSU with the interdepartmental database crime rules, also intercampuses, and with John Bellucci, Johnny Duke, whatever, with the agencies and judges interstate criminally reported and confessed involved, like with the proven sequence shift click with the federal criminals associated with the kids in my campuses. Class, like Eric Jensen was recorded and confessed, placed in my class, criminal uses of his placement in my class and all of that corner of the school, also with his ties to family members and relationships to my neighbor and to his family members that were recorded and confessed, pretending they know me that I never met, and exploiting every making to exploit criminally all exceptions. Like I barely ever just saw the face of a Phil Clow very few times, like a handful or less times. It was for moments, and was all recorded and confessed involved with his roles, also with that corner with database illusion stacking, with a also demonstrated and recorded and confessed by people tied to him, Paul Zano and Johnson and Wales School in Rhode Island, associated with behavior crimes, medical corruption, database illusion stacking, identity theft crimes, crimes of evidence reception bodies, database illusion stacking, where the schools are being forced to treat fact treatments. They use a trick of having them pretend there's a problem and they need, because people lie, whatever like that, because they're starting the liars first. They're sequence shifting too. Then they can't. To prevent that from being demonstrated, they pretend they're countering that by directing people not to make sense with the campuses. Also recorded and confessed involved with the courts criminally involved with Wethersfield campuses through time, and with other campuses kids, like also with Joshua Schumacher, who's also recorded and confessed involved with courts, police, sheriffs involved with the drug crimes and sex offender crimes with the sex offender cliques. I only know him from others making confessions and demonstrations of him, and him seeking me out through those others, demonstrating, recording his criminal roles with like a Violet family, and with the golf course, recording and confessed involved with the crimes with the kids, also with the CCSU ties to like policing of the bars and stuff like that, and on and off everything like that, covering their live progressions from crime rules and acts with cases, with live progressions tied to that, with where we have all this collusion between branches, states, and areas. They have criminal uses of the kids of interbranch families that they're incapable. They already exploited them for too long. In other words, boxing is strong. So I have to get the name of the Dave tied to the Rwanda brothers in the the people with Connecticut boxing recorded confessed involved with the identity thefts with the judges and with CCSU corruption. And see that, and with this method of each year stacking more actors and crime action methods and illusions and slanders and fake news acts and crime acts in cases and with their databases and identity thefts used to prevent people from having all those database solution stacks, any one of them fixed. Let's get this fixed.